Well, hello. It's Tuesday, August 20th, 2024. My first campaign video. Yep, I'll be on the list of write-ins for November 5th, House of Representatives, District 87. The handle, as I'll call it. So, we're living in some very, very serious times. Very serious times. And what I'm looking to do is uniting communities, counties, cities, towns, villages, in encouraging us to come together as these communities and first look at what's going on, and then figuring out what we really, really, really want in order to live our fullest life. And I think we're going to look at this for the next 20 years. When we can start coming together as communities and figuring out what we want, how we want to live, then I can go to Austin and say, this is what we expect. But we also have to grow up to being responsible for our lives and making that community what we want. It all starts with me, you. It all starts with one, but then as a community, what do we want? Because these are very, very, very serious times. What are we going to need over these next 5 to 10 years as basically the world implodes? See, if we know what we want and where we're going, then we don't have to implode. We can explode. We can thrive through this. There's always those that thrive through mayhem or the hardest of times. And we thrive, then we are the ones that carry the torch, basically, and be an example for other communities. We become an oasis of the handle. We have what it takes. Why I say it's so clear to me that we're in deep, deep, deep trouble to take very, very, very serious is that we have a crisis of care. We have a crisis of care. Our problems that we're up against right now, medical problems, so physical, mental health problems, mental, emotional problems, the body, how we bring energy into the world, inward, our suffering, social problems. We're separating versus integrating. But there is a separation before the integration. This is a crisis of care. For Amarillo, we've got wild cats and dogs everywhere. It's been going on for quite some time. That's a crisis of care. When we can't take care of our animals, that's a crisis of care. And I'm not just talking about pets. I'm talking about all animals, including the ones we eat. Our schools are in crisis. We have to protect our children from people going in and killing them. That's a crisis of care. If our teachers have to carry guns, that's a crisis of care. A deep-seated fear of living. We're here to live fully, not to fear it. Crime, crisis of care. Suicide, crisis of care. We're in this deep crisis of care. Hopelessness. I've spoken to so many people that admit to me, Jeff, I am hopeless. It's hopeless, man. I don't see any way out. It's hopeless. That brings apathy in. Apathy meaning, what's the use in living? Which leads to suicide or killing another and then suicide and so forth. I talked to a counselor yesterday. Had a beautiful friend. They committed suicide not too long ago. This is a crisis. Overdoses, that's a crisis of care. The border problem is a crisis of care. Our water problem is a crisis of care. I've got my water. Hey, forget everybody else. I got my water. Oh, we're short of electricity, man. We're burning up so much electricity because of our air conditioners and so forth. But not me. I'm not cutting back. I'm not going to raise my temperature 2 degrees. That's a crisis of care. And you may disagree with me and do that all you want. But grown-ups will listen. And then you ask, am I part of the problem? Because I guarantee it, every one of us is part of the problem. Every one of us is part of this crisis of care. If there isn't 144,000 people voting on November 5th, that's proof of a crisis of care. That's our empowerment. As community, that's our empowerment here in Amarillo. 144,000 showing up. That's Amarillo. That's an empowered community. Especially Potter County. For whatever reason, I've got a really heartfelt connection with Potter County. It's got depth. It's got depth of history, and that depth, it has a whole lot of sorrow to it, but it has a whole lot of joy also. It has so much that I feel. And it has so much potential, as the diversity of it is extraordinary. The history of it is extraordinary. There's been a lot of lives lived, much more than has in other county, in Randall County per se, specifically for Amarillo. So I'm going to bring messages such as this that will push lots of buttons. But that if we've got buttons that are being pushed, and my messages make you uncomfortable and cringe, I don't like quite what he says. I don't agree with him. I don't agree. Well, don't get angry. Just don't agree. Keep it to yourself, too. Keep it to yourself. We need inspiration. We need inspiration. Maybe that helps. Maybe that helps. But I'm in this. I'm in it. I'm a write-in, independent of any party. There's 3 of us that I know of. That means I have no chance. I'm going to pretty much come in last. But you know what? When I ran for mayor, I got 116 out of 20,000 votes. And my intention was to keep it to 100. did much. Actually, I didn't meet my goal. I went over it. I preferred 100. Actually, 99 was the perfect number. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? I had ways to win that, but I don't know, I chose to go for 99. We will meet again. Keep asking the questions. It's time to go inside. That's where we will find the gold mine to live a fulfilled life in a time of absolute turbulence with amongst a crisis of care. You've got to dare.